Well, welcome everybody to a very, very special presentation. The Serve Canada, in association with ARRA Arts, presents COVID-19 Wellness Series. We've been presenting these to you over the past little while, and we'll continue to do so. During these unprecedented times of this global pandemic, it is so important that we are taking care of ourselves and those around us. And ourselves really physically and mentally, it's very, very important. Many of us are working from home, not having that ergonomic chair, not having whatever it is that we have in the office, and it's a different world. We may not even have an office at home, and we have to manage. We have families around us. We're not interacting with our peers. There's so many things, and there's so much that we can talk about, and we'll continue to talk about during this very special COVID-19 Wellness Series to help you cope during these times.
Thank you to Serve Canada, Trillium Health Partners, and ARRA Arts on the launch of the incredible initiative to highlight mental health and wellness. I know this pandemic has been tough for a lot of people, especially on their mental health. And the reality is that no one is immune to it. Everyone can sometimes experience burnout, depression, anxiety, and isolation. I hope that through this series, you can learn how to care and maintain your mental health. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Even though you may feel alone or helpless, I want you to know we have your back. If you need someone to talk to, please reach out to some of the amazing mental health and addiction agencies in your community. Thank you and God bless you.
I want to introduce the founder and my very special host of this COVID-19 Wellness Series, and that is Anu Srivastava. Anu, before you introduce us to our guest and welcome everybody, maybe speak about the intent and the mission behind these wellness series.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the COVID Wellness Series. Like Jake rightly said, that we are definitely under unprecedented times. And I clearly remember in March when the lockdown had happened, we were thinking that this thing is going to last for weeks, if not months. And here we are 6 months later, and we're still struggling. So in between, We Serve Canada, which is a health and wellness organization, and ARRA Arts, which is a social wellness organization, they collaborated and they thought that we need to come up with an initiative where we can help the people how to deal with isolation, how to deal with COVID coping strategies. And that's when we decided to do the COVID Wellness Series in collaboration with Trillium Health Partners. So the COVID Wellness Series is an initiative which has got 10 virtual workshops. And we thought of having on one hand the medical doctors, the world-renowned doctors, the wellness experts who would talk about the different issues that we all are facing on one hand. And we also had some of our traditional and alternative methods like yoga and meditation, and how all these things together are going to help us overcome our difficult times during the pandemic. So COVID Wellness Series is an initiative that is supposed to help all of us out, and we hope you all enjoy, and we hope you all are able to series. And we have a very, very special guest from Trillium Health Partners, and her name is Hilda Chmait, and she is an occupational therapist on the mental health unit at Credit Valley Hospital. She also runs the DBT therapy groups and one-on-one treatments. She also completes cognitive, functional, and financial assessments. And besides that, Hilda is very busy with another part-time job with CBI as an occupational therapist. So I would like to welcome Hilda today to our wellness series and get an insight as to what exactly is the the role and function, and what is the help that we can all get through an occupational therapist in the mental health unit. And today we will be discussing the topics of distress tolerance skills and mindfulness. So I'm so very honored and proud to present our speaker, Hilda Chmait. Welcome, Hilda.
Thank you so much. That was very kind.
I think I'm going to start off with the first question, which is how have you and your team been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic at work and at home?
Yeah, so at work, we've been very strict about the procedures and policies and making sure that we are all on the same page. I think what's really important is that we always brief and debrief, making sure that we're all on the same page and that we're following proper procedures, especially when we do have clients come in with being positive patients. It can make some nurses feel uneasy, and as well as the rest of the team, especially when we are dealing with patients one-on-one. So, in fact, that we just make sure that when we are dealing with them, we are just gowning on our PPE and making sure that we're following the procedures to ensure that we are safe. And coming home, I guess that one's tricky. When we come home, we are around our family, so just making sure that we're practicing hand hygiene when we come home, and just, I guess, making it transparent at home and in the workplace.
So, it makes it so much more harder for you as frontline workers to be not only taking care of the patients and people at work and hospital or clinics or whatever that might be, but also then coming home and making sure that all your loved ones are well taken care of, as well as you still have to keep continuing doing the rest of the work that needs to be done at home. So we, of course, cannot thank you enough for all the wonderful work that you guys have been doing. And it's absolutely amazing. And, it's wonderful. Anyways, I will go to the next topic that we talked about, which was mindfulness. Everyone talks about that we have to be mindful about the things that we do. And it seems like such a simple term, but, it's very heavy. It really means a lot. So I think it'll be great if I can ask you to maybe help us understand that how can you become more mindful?
Yeah, so you are absolutely right. It is a big topic, and it seems so easy. People are just be mindful, right? So it is a lot more than just being present in the moment. It's the ability to become aware of your thoughts and the physical sensation and your emotions and action in the present moment. And the key is to do so without judging yourself or others in the experience, right? So some tips on to become more mindful is, the first one I would say is you want to start by observing your environment. So you want to observe your thoughts, you want to observe your feelings, and then these sensations you're feeling without reacting to them, right? We're just observing them. So just notice it without trying to change it. So you want to be alert and mindful to your experience, thoughts, feelings, sensations, using your five senses. So you can observe by just looking, using your senses. So what do you see? What do you hear? What are you touching? What do you taste? What do you smell? Right? And after you've done observing your environment, your physical sensation and emotion, you want to describe. So now, after you've observed, use words to practice describing your internal experience. So if you're feeling frustrated or anxious, say to yourself, I notice how my thoughts are coming very quickly right now, right? So then if you're able to do that, you're able to participate in what you're doing in that moment, in your life and your experiences, right? So mindfulness will allow you to fully engage in every experience without needing to love or hate it, right? We're not labeling it. We're just experiencing and participating in it, right? So allowing yourself to be a part of what is happening without obsessing over every detail or becoming self-conscious. I know it seems very heavy, but with practice, it comes easier. So you got to make sure you're doing it even when you don't feel overwhelmed. You just make it a part of your daily routine.
Is that what you would consider them to be, the mindfulness techniques? Or is that something different?
What are some of the mindfulness techniques? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Yeah. Okay. So I'll give you, there's a bunch. You can find so many different apps that provide you with so many different mindfulness, but I'm just going to give you the ones that I found work for me personally and that have worked for my clients at Credit Valley. So body scanning is one of my favorites. Essentially, you're paying a close attention to the physical sensations through your body. So you want to start with your feet, so your legs are on the ground, and you're going to move up to your legs, your stomach, your chest, back, shoulders, arms, hands, neck, and face. And you want to spend anywhere from 15 to 1 minute on each body part. So 15 seconds to 1 minute. And you're just noticing the feelings. Sometimes we feel tightness or we feel certain physical sensations. We don't notice it until we are actively paying attention to it, right? So, and when you're doing it, you don't want to judge it. You're just paying attention that it's there. So that's one of the techniques I like to use. My favorite one is grounding. It's using your senses. When I feel anxious, I find this one helps me feel calmer and also makes you very mindful of what's going on in this moment, right? So you can look up on Google grounding 54321, and essentially what it is you're using your senses. So you're going to pick 5 things that you see, then you're going to move on and pick 4 things that you feel, and then 3 things that you hear, and then 1 thing you taste, and 1 thing you smell. And I know that seems so simple, but it actually helps you ground you in the present moment. And I find that it helps a lot of clients that I work with, and personally, it helps me as well.
Oh, that sounds wonderful, really. I mean, like you said, that simple, yet they can take you into the present moment and make you very much aware of your bodies and what you are really feeling, and try and overcome those emotions at that moment of time.
Oh, sorry, I was saying that, yeah, there's so much benefits. I know it seems like such a big topic, but if people can just practice 5 minutes a day, it can help relieve a lot of stress in their day-to-day lives. So just putting it part of the routine.
And, that's so important. The whole putting part of your routine is very important, especially during this time. And for one thing to do it on a regular, when life is regular, so to speak, but in this new norm, you need to do it more. For those of you who are joining us right now, we're speaking with Hilda Chmait. She is an occupational therapist and with the Credit Valley Hospital. And it's so good to have you, and thank you for sharing your insight. Wanted to, and the whole thing about body scanning and grounding, very, very, very good stuff, and making it a part of your daily routine. Wanted to ask you, what is DBT, dialectic behavioral therapy, and CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and then what's the difference?
Right. So a lot of people ask, even when I introduce this group on my unit, they're like, "What is that CBT?" Because it's, I guess, fairly newer than CBT. CBT has, I guess, been around for a while. So they're both forms of psychotherapy, but CBT teaches you how your thoughts affect your feelings and your behaviors, and how they all influence each other. So, for example, if you believe that people don't like you, that's a thought, and you might avoid social situations. So that would be the behavior, and then you would feel lonely. So that's the feeling. So CBT really focuses on how those thoughts and how we can reframe our thoughts, and so they can affect our behavior in a positive and feelings in a positive manner. Whereas dialectic behavioral therapy it does take forms of CBT. It does address how the thoughts, behaviors, and feelings affect each other in the emotional regulation piece. But it really focuses more on the emotional and social aspects. So DBT really focuses and hones in on the emotional and social aspects. So it was developed to help people cope with overwhelming emotions and harmful behavior. So it is an evidence-based approach, and it's essentially just helping you regulate the emotions. So the 4 components is mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotional regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. So it is a big topic, so I chose my 2 favorites, so mindfulness and distress tolerance. So they're different, but they do share some similar things.
Actually, I think this brings us to about distress tolerance skills. Now we know what is distress, we know what is tolerance, but when you add the 2 together, and what are the skills that are associated with it, that's
right.
A totally different topic that you are an expert on. So if you can share some of your thoughts on that.
Sure, yeah.
And
So
before
I
you
love
do, before you do, just for fun, Anu, distress is
Yes.
caused by my kids, tolerance of my children. That puts together distress tolerance in my life. Sorry, go ahead.
Right?
Go.
We'll teach you how to deal with those distress tolerance that you've been anticipating. Okay, so at some point in our life, we have to cope with distress and pain, right? It's inevitable, right? Whether it be physical or emotional. And so in most cases, pain is unpredictable, and you can't always anticipate it, right? Like physically, we can't anticipate when a bee is going to sting us sometimes, or when someone makes you sad. So that would be the emotional. We can't sometimes prevent those things from happening. However, we can prevent suffering by using coping skills. So people struggle with overwhelming emotions, often deal with their pain in very unhealthy, unsuccessful ways because they don't know what else to do. And that's understandable. But when a person is in emotional pain, it's hard to be rational and think of a good solution. So maybe we can give them some tips. So usually when we're in a very distressful situation, we tend to act on our emotions. So I'm just going to give a quick acronym for you guys to remember. So every time you're faced in a situation where you just want to act on that emotion, whether it be anger or sadness, use the acronym REST. So R means relax. So the first step of the process is to stop what you're doing and just take a deep breath. And you want to step away from the situation for a few seconds so you don't act impulsively. And then next, you want to evaluate. So ask yourself, what is happening in the situation? What are the facts? So don't base your things on what you think is happening. Just say out in your head or out loud, what are the facts of the situation, right? Evaluate how you're also feeling in your bodily, your emotion, physical. You want to maybe state them out loud. And then set an intention. So what is the target, goal, or plan? What are you going to do? So maybe you can use one of your coping skills. Maybe you're going to do some body scanning. Maybe you want to do some grounding. And then take action. So put the plan into motion. So I know it sounds like in the moment you can't even access this, but you need to practice doing it so that when you're in situations that you can easily access this acronym. So REST, okay, I'm going to stop, evaluate, I'm going to set my intention, and then I'm going to take action. So I use this one at work, and when my clients are feeling overwhelmed, I remind them, what's the REST acronym, right? And remember that everyone is different. So there maybe body scanning works really well for someone and grounding works really well for someone. So it's going to be very individualized. So you got to make your own plan.
But at least it's good to know that there is a plan that we can follow. And no, that is absolutely wonderful. I'm really so impressed with the way you are highlighting all these points in such a simple manner. I'll be very honest. This is the first time I'm hearing all this, but it's kind of going in my mind like, okay, I know what a body scan is. I know what's grounding. Now I know what's rest. So what are the 4 skill categories?
Okay, so in distress tolerance and dialectic behavioral specifically, the 4 skills of the categories of distress tolerance is distract, self-soothe, improving the moment, and focusing on pros and cons. So distract, don't get it mixed up with avoidance. We don't want people to avoid the situation. We just want them to distract them before making a decision, right? Because sometimes if we're going to act impulsively, we're going to choose the wrong self-destructive decision. So maybe distract yourself by doing something you really like. For me, I like to clean. It calms me down. So I use that when I'm overwhelmed. Or maybe you want to go listen to some music in your room. Or maybe you want to journal. So everyone's going to have a different distraction tool, right? So maybe you want to choose one of the ones that you find that works best for you. So self-soothing, I know I keep talking about using our senses, but it's very self-soothing, I find, and my clients have gave me feedback. So with self-soothing, maybe you want to use your vision by looking at something beautiful, like maybe some flowers or some landscape or an artistic performance. And then maybe for your hearing, you want to listen to music or enjoy the sound of nature, or maybe talk to a friend. And then use your sense of smell. So use your favorite lotion, maybe smell flowers, maybe bake an aromatic recipe, right? And then the last one is taste. So maybe just indulge in some dessert or something you really like, or experiment with different flavors or textures, right? And then lastly, touch. So maybe a lot of people find different textures very self-soothing. I know a lot of my clients have something in their purse when they're anxious in the community. They will use those textures to calm down, or maybe a blanket, or maybe just get some lotion on your hands. So those are some tips for self-soothe. And then I guess we'll just touch quickly on the improving the moment. So it's the acronym is improves, and what you want to do is it's basically essentially the same thing. So you want to either maybe create meaning or purpose in a situation, so finding the silver lining. Sometimes when people compare their current situation with a more unfortunate, like, oh, I'm blessed to have a roof over my head, it can make you feel a little better. The one I really like to do with my clients, and it's my favorite one, is closing your eyes and envisioning somewhere that you want to go or makes you feel safe. So I like to envision like being on a beach, and your brain actually can't distinguish that you're actually there. So your brain thinks you're there, and it actually is releasing those dopamine and makes you in a happier mood. So you guys should try that one time, because I find that one really, really helpful.
Yeah, I think especially in these days and times where you can hardly go anywhere, I think the power of mind is going to be the most powerful. And think about
Exactly.
but you're so right, Hilda, because I'm thinking so many times I myself have run into situations, and the best thing that I really do is walk away, but I walk away to what I like to do best. And usually it is like listening to music, and it really does calm me down. And it's like, and then when I come back, then I've forgotten like what I was fighting about or whatever it was.
But it's good that that's the first step you have. But the second step now, you can, how do you address it? So you don't want to forget about the issue. You still want to address it, right? So coming back and
So how would you do that?
So
how would
I
you
guess
address
you're listening to music, you can reflect about what you want to say, and let's say you got in a fight with your husband, and you want to tell him how you feel, like reminding yourself, okay, I'm not going to use those you made me feel that you make me upset. You want to use I words. So I feel that upset because this happened, right? So really using those I words instead of use, because it feels more direct, right? Just think about if someone came to you, it sounds pretty confrontational. So you want to come up with what you want to say and how you want to say it. So I think that's really important. How you want to say it is really the most important, because the way you say things can come off in different ways, right? So after that's really good. You have really good tools. So you're distracting yourself by listening to music. And then while you're there, you can come up with what you want to say and how you want to say it, and then take action and actually doing it, right? We don't want to avoid the situation. We want to address it, because then they're not resolved.
Right.
Basically, you
That's
start
wonderful
using
advice.
rest, which is evaluate, set intention, and then take action.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Use your rest acronym. Next time, think of me and say, I'm going to use the rest acronym.
Yeah, no, it's very good. I've been taking a lot of notes, which is incredible, very good. My favorite part is that, first of all, distraction cleaning, that ain't me, that's for sure. But I like the taste part. My favorite dessert, oh my God, Hilda, thank you very much. I'm going to tell my wife next time I need dessert. Hilda said I can have dessert.
Blame it on me.
Wanted to ask you, what are the components to regulate emotions?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I know when you're in the moment, you're like, I'm so mad. Like, how am I going to even process what I'm thinking? But also, that's a good point, though. The fact that you're so mad that you can't access your frontal lobe is an issue, because then you start to act on those emotions, and then they lead to destructive things, right? So the first thing I would say is you want to recognize the emotion. So I don't know if you've been in this situation, but you feel something, but you don't know what it is. So that's a really important, because learning how to recognize your emotion and their effects on your life is the first step into controlling those high intensity emotional reactions, right? So people spend their lives paying little attention to how they feel, and as a result, there are a lot of important things happening inside of you that you don't even know about. So this holds true for people who struggle even with overwhelming emotions, but it occurs in a different way. So people struggling with this problem recognize a tidal wave of distressing emotions, but by the time they recognize the tidal wave, it's too late to do anything about it. So the first step when you feel that, you want to label it. So if I'm feeling uneasy, okay, I feel upset. right? That's the emotion. Describe it in a word, right? That's an important step. And you don't want to wait, because I find a lot of the time people avoid things because it's so uncomfortable, and that's normal. We don't like that feeling of uncomfortableness, but it's like stuffing a duvet in a closet. Eventually it's going to pop open. So that's like our thoughts. We want to organize it, fold our things nicely. It's like our brain. We want to organize our thoughts so we understand it better, so we know how to properly address them. So that would be the first step, recognizing the emotion and labeling it. And then the second thing you want to do is the opposite of your emotional urges. So this one's really hard to do. Sometimes when you're mad, you just want to throw something. So you want to do the opposite of that. So think about, like, maybe writing. I always find that writing things down have been the most helpful for clients and even myself. We all experience this, right? So there's probably a really good reason for feeling whatever it is you're feeling, and your emotions are legitimate and valid, but the bigger problem is the emotion-driven behavior, right? So acting on those emotions which create destructive outcomes. So notice the opposite actions change both your body language, your posture, and your facial expression, as well as your actual behavior. So let's say I was really sad, and I felt like crying my eyes out. The opposite action would be playing some music and having a dance party. I like that one. So it actually sends signals to your brain, and it really helps change that emotion and the way you're feeling. So next time you're in that situation, try think about what the opposite action is, and do that, right? And start by acknowledging what you feel first. So like I said, if I was feeling sad, I would say, okay, the emotion is sad, right? And describe that. Okay, I feel heavy, my chest is a little heavy. And then ask yourself, is there a good reason to regulate or reduce the intensity of this emotion? Is it overpowering? Does it drive you to do destructive things, right? Notice how you feel in your body, and then identify the opposite actions. Mine would be dancing. And then fully commit to it, right? Set a time frame. I'm going to dance for 2 minutes, and for, I don't know, whenever you feel that sad, let's say you felt sad 4 times a week, I'm going to dance for 2 minutes each time. So really being very specific, and then monitor your emotions as you do this opposite action, and notice how your original emotion may change or evolve. And I feel like once you see that change, that will motivate you to doing those opposite actions when you're feeling those intense emotions. Does that make sense?
It does.
Sure does.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Very, very good stuff. COVID has impacted our lives, and so just want to ask you, what are some of the best resources to access so that frontline workers, staff, and for those that are watching this session can continue with their normal lives?
The one I use that I provide to my clients is Insight Timer. It's actually a free app. I'll show you how it looks. I have it on my phone. Free, and it has like thousands. Insight Timer, like this.
Oh.
Yeah, and it has different topics. So there's meditation, anxiety, stress, sleep, work, self-esteem, and mourning. So you don't want to do things only when you feel a certain emotion or overwhelming emotion. Like I said, you want to incorporate it in your daily routine. So let's say you have 5 minutes in the morning, you want to meditate, or 5 minutes before you go to bed, right? It's really important we show ourselves some love at least 5 minutes a day, right? That's not asking a lot. So Insight Timer is a really good app. Headspace is really good. I tried it. That one's paid. And then just going on YouTube, I find that when I just want to hear like white noise, I use that. So those 3 ones I find have been the most beneficial for me and my clients, from what I've heard from their feedback.
Yeah, very nice. Insight Timer, Headspace, and YouTube. And the best thing about Insight Timer is that it's a free app, which is great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Thanks very much.
I think this brings us to the end of our session. And what a wonderful conversation we've had. Hilda, you have been great. And it was very, very insightful. And some of the techniques that you talked about, and the things that we can very simply do, which is going to help us during these unprecedented times. it has been actually really wonderful. And thank you so much for everything that you do for all of us and keeping all our people safe and healthy. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. It's been a great experience, and I wish you guys all the best and stay safe during these times.
So now I think I would like to thank our moderator, Jake Dheer. He is in the board of Trillium Health Partners as well. Thank you so much, Jake, for always being a part of our sessions and all the initiatives that I do. And I'd like to thank our technical producers, Y Media, Yudhvir Jaswal, Preet Jaswal, and their team for all the wonderful work that they have been doing for us during these series. As we all know that we are all going through very difficult times, and every little bit helps. And these answer and question kind of a panel discussion is something very easy and helpful for all of us to follow. And we really do hope that it brings some help in your lives during these COVID times. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anu Reed. And just, thank you very much. You've been watching to COVID-19 Wellness Series that is put together by Serve Canada in association with ARRA Arts and in support of Trillium Health Partners Foundation. If you're able to donate, please donate generously. This is one of those times where, the Trillium, which consists of 3 hospitals, the Mississauga Hospital, Credit Valley Hospital, and the Queensway site, our frontline workers, our hospitals need help and support. If we're able to donate, there'll be a link at the bottom that you can donate, and please donate whatever you can. Again, thank you very much for being a part of today. Thank you, Anu. You always do a great job in bringing some great guests on. And over the course of time, folks, during these sessions, you will also see certain folks from the community, whether they're elected officials or other leaders who will come in and just bring their greetings and their support towards these COVID-19 Wellness Series. So just want to let you know that periodically you'll see some of these wonderful guests that will be joining us. Again, thank you very much for being a part of today. Be safe. Take care of yourself and those around you. God bless you.